After climbing from Bronze to GM on every single strategist in Marvel Rivals, I have a lot to say about the role and which characters are best for climbing. Before we jump right into the rankings, let's discuss the criteria I am going to use, but if you really don't care about that, just skip to this timestamp. First, this list is going to take into account how easy the character is to play, as well as how much the character can perform on average, but the latter point will always mean more. For example, Cloak may be easier to perform on than Luna, but because Luna is so much stronger and worth the practice, she will be ranked higher on the list. Second, this is targeted for as many players as possible, not just the top 1% of players like Celestial Peaks and beyond. Y'all already know what I'm gonna say in terms of meta strength, but this is a more nuanced list that is meant to stand the test of time. Finally, while the win rates I had on each character for their respective Bronze to GMs matter, they are not the end all be all, and there's gonna be some more analysis in this video. The main goal if you are trying to carry on Strategist is to build your ultimate as fast as humanly possible, usually through healing your team. Some characters are just better at that than others, and just don't really fit in the whole role. So enough yap, let's get started with the worst strategist to rank up with in Marvel Rivals, starting with Jeff the Shark. Now, here's the problem that I have with Jeff. Sure, he can be extremely lethal if there's certain conditions that you're meeting. Those conditions being he goes on flanks and can pressure the backline. And when he's doing that he has a Luna so he can actually use his team up to be more consistent. And on top of that, in higher elos, he really wants to have a dive with him, like a Black Panther, Spider-Man, Psylocke, Venom, Captain America, Human Torch, Iron Fist, characters that are pretty strong right now, but probably won't be strong all of the time, which makes that viability a little difficult. And all of these things that we just talked about, rarely are you going to find every single one of these aspects to make Jeff the Shark really lethal in ranked. You're usually going to have like one support with you, and then you're going to have like a thing with a Groot, and the comp's going to be all over the place, and Jeff the Shark isn't really going to get to be that carry character that you want him to be. Instead, you just have people that are going to throw the game the instant that you lock him in too. It's true, it happened a lot in the Bronze to GM. I urge you to watch that because that was painful. And the thing is, that's not the only problem with Jeff, because if you're not going to play Jeff like this DPS tank flank character, and you're just going to play him in the backline like any other support, you're just not going to be doing as much on what you could do with really any other strategist. For example, like you could just play Rocket in that scenario into infinitely more with a better ultimate that actually supports the team and isn't just trying to gobble up characters that usually all just have ways to get away from the Jeff ultimate anyways. So don't get me wrong, I do love some Jeff. Like, I do love playing Jeff. He's a very fun character and he's very strong when he's in that niche situation. Arguably one of the best characters in the game when he has all the stars aligning. But this is ranked that we're talking about for most players, where people don't know how to play with the Jeff, and when there's that many prerequisites to make him good, he just doesn't shine as hard as other support characters in ranked. So let's move on to the next one. We have Adam Warlock, who is better than Jeff by a pretty considerable margin, but still suffers from a lot of the same problems. Unlike Jeff though, he actually has a kit that is playable for most games, and he has an ultimate that is usually actually pretty good if you can manage to use it, but it's just not as consistent as the others that are higher on this list. So even though I'm about to rip into Adam, he's still my go-to pick in Grandmaster and Celestial lobbies if I just want to completely dominate, and he's very much a considerable leap over Jeff like we just said, but he does have some shortcomings that make him not as consistent as other characters. And the reason being is Adam needs time to find his angle. He needs time to get set up, where in ranked tank players, they're not really thinking about that. They just kind of take damage and die. So this is not really going to work in those lower elos, which is why I say Grandmaster and Celestial is where he really shines. And the other thing about Adam too is that he's much more mechanically demanding than most of the other supports outside of, I mean, you could argue like Luna, Snow, and Mantis, but I still think Adam probably takes the cake there of being the most difficult mechanically, maybe Jeff too. And while the ult is good, the problem is that it also requires your team to know that you have it and know that they can be aggressive to force out specific ultimates without responding with their own. What I'm talking about is, like, let's say that they have the group Moon Knight combo and then your team gets comboed, but then the Luna Snow in lower elo, she's gonna try to like use her Luna ult and just die in it. So where that's a really big deal in higher elo. If you are just outside of the fight, you can look to res your team and then you can re-engage with that Luna ult later. That nuance is usually lost in lower elos, and it really cuts into the value proposition that Adam provides to the team. Adam is a team IQ check, not really an enemy IQ check, and that means it's like, is my team going to take too much damage? Will they know that I have res? And oftentimes, if you want to be that aggressive support, Mantis is just the better counterpart. She has more heal up time, a support ultimate that is almost impossible to mess up and is very easy to turn fights with, and it's just more difficult. But if you do have the aim and confidence to take off angles and delete the enemies before they delete you, I can't tell you that Adam Warlock is going to be bad in elos like gold and plat. It's just going to be more difficult and less consistent for most players compared to others. So let's move on. Following Adam, we have Rocket Raccoon, and I know this one is going to turn some heads, but both for people that are higher and lower elo. But if we're talking strictly right now, I would probably put him in the top 3. I mean, he's insane right now. He has great healing. He has a great res beacon. He has pretty much everything you need. But the reason why I'm putting him this low is that I really doubt he is going to remain as strong as he is right now for much longer. The nice part about Rocket in my eyes is that he is the low rank support. If you're struggling in bronze and silver, you play Rocket and you're probably gonna rank up if you just play a good bit. He's easy to play and heal people, easy to just res somebody after they feed, which happens a lot in ranked, even though you're just pumping heals into them. And the other thing too is that he's really flexible. He can be pretty much put in any comp in the game. He has a great support ultimate now for turning fights, and I mean a 90% win rate all the way up to the top 0.5% of players. That speaks volumes. Not dropping a single game in Diamond, that's a pretty dang big deal. But here's the catch. When Rocket does get nerfed, he probably won't have as much output as other characters that are alongside him. As it stands, he has no real carry tools outside of his ultimate, and the reason why you can kind of carry with him is because his healing output is so fast that he gets his ultimate so fast, and that's where he can carry. People can also just shoot the ultimate, even if it's placed well when support ults are mirrored. So like, let's say you use your Rocket ultimate and then the enemy responds with their Luna ultimate. They're gonna be able to just walk in, break what's keeping your team alive, and then they have an extra like 6 seconds of support ult. This won't really happen in lower ranks, but when you get around that diamond and you're really trying to push your elo, it starts happening a lot more, and it's a pretty big deal. When the enemy team is good and you need a carry, they will just stop you from carrying. I still think Rocket is a great option to climb with though. As for really any character on this list, well, maybe not Jeff. Jeff isn't for everyone. He's a little bit too difficult compared to the others. So let's move on to the support to climb on, and that is Cloak and Dagger. She will always be the average support to climb on. She's a lot like Rocket. Most of the time, she's just heal botting and building her ultimate super fast, not super hard to aim on, and can pretty much be slotted into any comp as well against any comp. So she's super easy to pick up too, easy to play after about an hour or two. Unlike Rocket though, and the reason why she's actually above him is she has extra carry potential with her damage wall, the Terror Cape. The only thing that she can't do is she can't res like Rocket can, so that makes it really a toss-up of which one is better, depending on if you want to be more aggressive and get some more kills, or if you want to stop teammates from feeding. Now, the reason why I think she does tip the scales, even with this better neutral game, in my opinion, is because of her ultimate. It is indestructible, unless you die by getting hit by maybe like a Magneto or a Hawkeye or Iron Man. The reason why she isn't higher on this list though is because we're actually left with some pretty heavy support hitters right now. I mean, she's definitely not bad by any means. It's just that the others have better standalone kits, better ultimates, or both. While they may be harder, they aren't so much harder to the point that they're impossible to learn, which is again why she's placed where she is within the list. And while Cloak is great, she is limited by her simplicity and lacks the more advanced value other more difficult characters can get. So that brings us to Invisible Woman, which really was a very close toss-up between these two, much closer than it was for Cloak and Rocket, and that's saying something because here's the problem with Invisible Woman. She is a little bit less flexible in those higher elos because she really wants to play when everyone is stacked. And on top of that, she doesn't really do as well with flyers as some of these other characters like Cloak and Dagger. But here's why I put her above it, because 95% of the player base doesn't really know how to play different compositions. Usually every game devolves into 12 people all clumped together, and when that is like just the way that people are playing the game, Invisible Woman will always typically be doing better than Cloak and Dagger, because Cloak, she does a lot better when people are a little bit further apart. She still likes when people are stacked together, but compared to Invisible Woman, like that's her bread and butter. And because this is how most people are playing the game, it makes it very clear that Invis is above Cloak. Her push and pull ability both sets up picks and counters various ultimates in the game far more consistently than the previous options as well. And she can very easily heal and do damage at the same time, which you can't really say the same for Cloak and Dagger. Her shield ability, also being passed around correctly, can compensate for bad DPS players and help them win the matchup even if they are worse, which is really good because this is a way that you can carry to get kills in a way that you're not really the one aiming and doing that, like Adam, for example. So it does take a lot of pressure off of you and a lot of pressure off of your own DPS players on your team. And this is especially true in Hela matchups that are super common for the last honestly, for the whole entire game's life cycle so far. I feel like she's never been bad. So while Invisible Woman is not super flexible, her utility is so strong that it makes her a pretty consistent carry. So now let's get into the top 3 and start things off with Loki. Loki is an incredible support and literally has all of the tools needed to carry games. He has incredible healing and damage outputs, being able to 3 or 4 tap squishies in most cases. He also has a consistent way to counter ultimates with his standalone kit through his runes. He has access to every ultimate in the game, and I mean, do I really have to explain why that is so good? So no matter what, Loki is going to be a great pick, no matter what composition and no matter what meta, in my opinion, at least as it stands. The problem is that he is easily, far and away, the most difficult support to pick up for most players. You have to know first what all of the buttons do. You have to have a good general understanding of resource management, which to be honest, you don't really need for any of these other characters. And sometimes, even if you do it all on Loki, it still isn't enough to carry the game. If we had infinite skill and time, Loki would be the #1 option on this list, but that wasn't part of the criteria. Regardless, I would still always take an okay Loki over a great or godly tiered Jeff if I only had 2 supports in ranked, which is why he found his spot right here on the list. Mantis shockingly comes into 2nd place on the list, even after a 98% win rate in her respective bronze to GM. Hell, even Awkward got 100% win rate on the character in his challenge. And Mantis is great for ranked because she has incredible damage output. She sticks around for a while with her sleep and self-heal off of life charges. She doesn't have to worry about healing while she's doing the damage like Adam does. And she also has an incredible ultimate, like we said earlier, for turning fights. Mantis is the character to carry in lower elos, but the problem begins when Mantis is not in the meta. Like right now, it's just not her meta in the slightest at all. We are all feeling that pretty hard right now. In Season 0 and in Season 1, a lot of people were playing characters like Star-Lord and Psylocke, at least in my games, or other characters that had pretty fast times to kill. Now with the support buffs to Rocket amongst others, characters just do not die as fast as they used to. It is far more beneficial for a team to just have a Rocket or a Luna Snow now than a Mantis. Regardless, she will still be so good for so much of the player base that she has netted herself a spot amongst the greats for carrying in ranked. Because she gets barred off at higher ranks when we start getting into those GMs, I have a really hard time putting her for number 1. I know this wasn't really what we were talking about for the criteria, but she definitely falls off the higher you go. It's just that she is so good and so consistent that if someone has aim and wants to do some healing, just play Mantis. But now that leads us to the queen of the strategists being Luna Snow. She has it all with very little to no downsides. She has incredible damage and elite healing output. She is super flexible and doesn't have a composition that she doesn't do well in. She can really poke with poke comps. She likes clapping to get her ultimate super fast in Brawl. And in Dive, I mean, she packs some damage with some pretty good self-healing utility. She can also cancel ultimates and peel for herself with the Snowball and charges her ultimate incredibly fast with proper uses of her claps and Snowflake. And really, the largest reason why Luna Snow is the GOAT is because her ultimate is just the best in the game. She provides invincibility for 12 seconds on top of toggleable damage boost to one-shot people with specific combos. It is far and away the ultimate of ultimates in Marvel Rivals. It's no wonder why Luna and Loki are so strong together. I mean, the ultimate is so good, and cycling 24 seconds of invincibility, it's just so good. The only downside is that she requires aim, kind of. Although the aim is not nearly as hard as Loki when characters are flying around, or Adam Warlock and Mantis. The aim required to pilot Luna is achievable with practice, making her easily the best character to climb in ranked for longevity's sake, no matter what the meta brings her way. She might not be the easiest, but she isn't the hardest and is super impactful in every single game. And that closes out today's video ranking the worst to best strategists to rank up with in Marvel Rivals. No character is impossible to carry with in this game in most ranks. Some are just better than others, and I feel pretty confident with where I placed everyone as per the reviewed criteria. I'm interested to see where Ultron fits in with all of these, but I have a really hard time believing that he will be able to overtake the dominance of Luna Snow, Mantis, and Loki for the best carry supports. I do plan though on remaking this video idea when he does come out, but until then, let me know if you love or hate my rankings in the comments, and maybe stick around by subscribing. But until next time, I've got to peace out and Paz out. I'll see you in the next one.